Hi, I'm Shauna Davis, the Epicurean Connection, and thank you for joining us today. Today in our cheese chat, we have a fantastic guest, Ray Rumiano from Rumiano Cheese Company. Hi, Ray, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really stoked to be here.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time, and thanks for the wonderful selection of cheeses you sent us today. And I want to thank you for the peppercorn dry jack and the dry jack. They're incredibly delicious. And we have not put into your three other cheeses, your pepper jack, medium cheddar, and the habanero, but I know my husband's eyeing the habanero for sure.
It's one of my favorites.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely.
I went and bought some of your cheese at our supermarket and made mac and cheese.
Oh, awesome.
I'm sorry you're 100 miles away, or I would share the mac and cheese with you, but I thought you'd like to know that we're enjoying your cheese in our mac and cheese.
I can smell it from here.
Excellent. One day we'll smell a vision.
Yeah, right.
So Ray, tell us about your dairy farm, how it was started and how many generations?
Okay, yeah. So in 1919, my great-grandparents moved up from San Francisco. It's kind of a long story pre that. So they moved up from San Francisco to Willows, and they started dairying. And within, by 1921, they're like, we have a lot of milk, and we don't really know what to do with it. So they started making cheese and cheese and butter. So this facility that I'm at right now in Willows, California, this is the original location of my family's kind of the introduction of Rumiano cheese as it is. Through the years, there was, into the 20s and 30s, they had some contracts with actually the United States Army, which obviously bulked up the need to produce cheese. So they were producing cheese in 7 different facilities throughout California. And after World War II and World War I, World War II, and kind of the invention of refrigerated travel, they consolidated all those locations to keep our Crescent City facility, which is right on the Oregon border, up on the coast, and then our Willows facility. I like to think they had some really great forethought because Willows is a pretty centrally located location right on I-5, pretty close to Sacramento. We've got north of Portland, pretty much in between LA and Portland. We've got San Francisco Bay Area, you've Reno, and then Crescent City, Del Norte County, Humboldt counties, just known for their awesome milk shed. So it's been really interesting to be able to tap into that. And we've been, really privileged to have that milk shed available to us and been making our awesome cheeses ever since then. So
that's amazing. Since 1919, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I celebrated our 100th anniversary last year, actually at the party. That was great. It was a good fun party. A lot of cheese.
That was a beautiful cheese table.
Yeah, Jillian, one of our sales team members, handled all that. It was really awesome.
For those of you that weren't there, it was like 30 feet of cheese goodness. It was amazing. So happy anniversary. That'd be 101 years now then.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, actually. I guess in another year, we'll be celebrating the 100 years of actually cheese making. So that'll be fun.
It's a second 100-year anniversary.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I know you guys make these peppercorn jack. Tell me about this one, because I don't see this anywhere else on the marketplace.
So it's we call it Papado. It's definitely not a true Papado because obviously we know Papado is made from sheep's milk. But I think it was a spinoff of the Dry Jack on the left side there. And Dry Jack is a classic Californian cheese. It's kind of vague and nobody, as far as I know, really understands how it was created, where it was created, who made it, who started it. But I think that's kind of beyond the point. Dry Jack was a really awesome Monterey Jack that somehow became dried, and people were like, wow, this is this awesome nutty, almost bone brothy flavor to this cheese. Let's replicate this. So my grandparents or great grandparents started. We have a cellar that we still use today. It's about 100 years old now, and they started aging this Dry Jack in there. And through the years, I'm not quite sure when we decided to start adding peppercorn to it, but we did. And it's actually, I said habanero was one of my favorites, but I think the peppercorn Dry Jack is probably one of my favorites. Started adding the peppercorns to that Dry Jack, and I think the salt balance with the fatty creaminess of that high quality milk really kind of cuts down that peppercorn We add it when it's a little warm, so I think it softens them up a touch. But yeah, it is a spectacular piece of cheese, if you ask me.
It is going to make a delicious mac and cheese, by the way.
Oh yes, excited for that. We have a couple customers, restaurateurs and stuff that will should grade it over the top of their mac and cheeses actually, so it works out really well.
Absolutely. And it is really good with a nice ale. As I said, I love it with a beer. You know, like a nutty brown ale style with this cheese. It brings out the nuttiness of the cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It complements the peppercorn. So I do love it with a nice brown ale. And then the dry jack I love too, with like almost a stout because of the cocoa.
Yep, absolutely.
And
that sounds, I'm gonna have to try that. I haven't tried that. I will definitely try that.
So definitely brown ale, like a Newcastle, or you got the Lost Coast up north, you know, or the dry jack or the stout. Totally delicious.
Awesome. I'm gonna do that. I'll go home today and try that.
Excellent. I have now given you a good homework assignment.
Yeah, perfect. I'll report back.
For our guests, when we were tuning in and waiting, Ray and I were talking about the cheeses, where I was talking about we have a cabin, Ray has a cabin, we're both fantasizing of going to our cabins because it's so hot. And your cheeses are perfect for us packing them into our cabin because we keep them cool and we can open them each day and have a whole piece of cheese. So I love the pepper jack. That's one that I love. Like I can have it in my omelet in the morning, can have it on my sandwich for the hike during the day, and finish it off in the pasta in the evening. So there's my camping endorsement for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, pepper jack's kind of a go-to for me as well. I really enjoy that. And
so you're shipping because your grandparents were definitely saw the future with your location, because the whole from Los Angeles to Seattle was like the epicenter of cheese sales. And
it really is, yeah.
You really couldn't have picked better locations for shipping.
And that's pre-I-5 even that they kept that. You know, 99 running up the state, but
right.
Yeah, I-5 kind of opened that whole channel right up, so it's pretty interesting.
So are you shipping your cheese all the way up to Seattle and then back down to Los Angeles?
Yeah, we have our own trucking, kind of our own trucking network that we use, and we have our own truckers, and we run up to Portland, as far as Portland, and down to the Bay Area, and we have third-party logistics that help take it the rest of the way. A lot of distribution that takes it nationally for us, but yeah, most of our truckers, you know, Reno, Portland, down to the Bay Area and back. So,
right, that makes sense, and I think a lot of companies do that. You know, you can keep your product within your own safety network.
Absolutely.
You know, the quality is there for the distribution channels, and you also get honest feedback from your customers if your team is communicating with them from the sales to the delivery.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something that kind of the sales to the delivery aspect. You know, the vertical integration of our company is we pretty much have our finger on the pulse of every step of the way, from the milk all the way down to the retail piece that's going out to the store. So that's very helpful in that.
It's always fascinating. Like when we talk to Chris Rowley at Rowley Cheese in Wisconsin, he has his own trucking company and distributes all of his own products in his trucking company. Same as like Organic Pastures has their own company, and it's always fascinating to see. But when I talk to either of them, they can tell you exactly where your product is.
Yeah, wow.
Precisely, which I think is amazing. Because sometimes I'll ask a cheesemaker, "Where's your product?" They're like, "Well, I don't really know." And to me, it's important to know where your products are. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you every single store it's in.
No.
At least the dry jack, I could probably get pretty close with the dry jack, but
usually it's just nice to be able to name a few accounts in a region, and then you can usually tap into a few that
absolutely
people recognize. And I think that's important for all cheesemakers to be able to, you know, tell your customers where to find your cheese.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Part of our job is to make sure our cheese sells.
That is so true. Without a sale, you can make all the cheese you want, right?
If you can't sell it, you're gonna be sitting on it. So tell us a few. I always like to ask the cheesemakers and our guests on the show, what are some of the philanthropic, you know, activities that you participate in your community? And I know you do some, and I know it's hard for cheesemakers. You guys are all humble, but I like to let people know what you actually do in the community. Oh,
okay. Yeah, sure. I know in our Crescent City facility, just for some context for the viewers, my uncle and my cousin, Joby and Baird, they run the facility up in Crescent City, and my father was always in John. He and my other cousin, Tony, we've handled the packaging operations down in here in Willows. So it's kind of two different areas. And I know Crescent City's done a lot of giving back to the community. They're really big on the presence there, you know, whether it be, helping fund, the local tennis teams or giving back to charitable donations for the city to, retrofit a playground or something. Speaking more personally in terms of Willows and what we do, we tend to donate a lot to the local like gleaners in Chico, Glenn County area. We do a lot of just general donation requests. We try to support in any way we can, giving out, gift baskets for silent raffles or just things like that. We've been giving a lot back to our employees lately. We really find like right now is it's a trying time for, a lot of people. And, the employees we've been really busy. The retail business has been really strong. And, that means all these people here are busy and their kids being out of work. It's a struggle for them. How do they, I can't imagine what that struggle would be with children right now and having, no childcare and then having to work and there's all this complexity to that. So, Rumiano Cheese and Willows and Crescent City, we've all been trying to give back. So we've been doing bi-weekly care packages, might be beans and dried goods in a box, and we try to prepare it all for the employees, and everyone gets to take one home. And it's a small drip in the bucket when it's the big scheme of things, but I think it definitely makes a difference. I think a lot of employees and customers will remember through all this experience how they were treated and how businesses treated customers and employees. So, and it's the least we could do, without employees, what is a business? Nothing, right? So, and that's about, all I can.
Taking care of your employees and your community is huge. And food banks are the big place right now.
Absolutely.
And taking care of your employees.
Absolutely. Yeah. The food banks are huge too. That can be a little harder for us because it's a perishable. So local food banks don't often take a lot of cheese. When we had the campfire, for example, in Paradise right near us, we donated what we could. Most of it was food trucks that were making grilled cheese and stuff for, out of home, out of place people from Paradise and going to shelters. And so we do what we can when we can, and I think that's a big push. Joe Barrett, our CEO, is really adamant about giving back to the community that we've essentially been part of for so long, and kind of silently. I grew up in Willows, town of 6,000 people now. But it's, it was kind of like, Rumiano cheese existed, but nobody really knew about it. It was just kind of like under the radar. So, we've been here, but it's time to start saying, hey, we're here and we're here to help. So that's a big aspect for me. I'm pretty excited about that.
These last few years have opened up our eyes to that we do need to get back between the wildfires and the shelter in place and power outages.
Absolutely.
We're all realizing that starting with helping our employees and then giving to our community is a big return for all of us right now.
Yeah, it's so important. Again, without community to help what is a business without the community or the employees, right? It's nothing. So it's so important to me.
That's true. So, I wanted to also ask you, I wanted to tell the guests how we met, which I think is funny that you and your brother signed up for a cheese class. And I remember when I saw the name go through the roster, I'm like, Rumiano. Why would Rumiano take a cheese making class? And then when I met you two, then it became clear. You guys just said, I want to understand how to make cheese.
Yep.
And it was such a great class. And when I figured out that you were a Rumiano family, I said, well, bring cheese. And that's always our open door to any cheesemaker or family of a cheesemaker. Bring cheese to share. And that was such a fun afternoon because we all cheese, and the other 18 people in the class got to enjoy your cheese, and it was just such a fun way to get to know you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And then go over and eat Vella cheese, so you got the fourth generations meeting each other, which was, to me, was fantastic. And that's
loved that.
Part of what I found in my name, the Epicurean Connections, and I love making those connections. Like, you're here, let's go meet them. And
it was spectacular.
It was really a fun day.
It really was. I have to thank you again. That was great meeting Gabe at Vella and stuff. I'd always heard of Vella, Dry Jack, and they make Dry Jack. We're the two companies that still make Dry Jack. Gabe and I both agreed that maybe we're just too stubborn to stop making it. And and it was really, really fun to connect on that level because, his grandpa and my grandpa knew each other, and I think even farther back than that maybe. So it's just really insightful and really interesting to kind of see, the history of Northern Californian cheese making in a sense.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you were able to join and stay for the tour. That was fun.
Yeah, it was excellent. Thanks for showing us around.
So I want to ask you, what is your favorite dish to make with your dry jack?
That's a funny question. People always ask me things like, okay, what's your favorite pairing and this for that dry jack? And to be very frank, I just snack on it. That is my go-to. I shave it off in nice little thin shaving. I can eat probably 6 to 8 ounces in a sitting if I really wanted to, but between my wife and I, we'll sit down on the couch in the afternoon and chisel away at a little
way.
way.
Put it on your counter cheese because you don't have to refrigerate it.
Mm-hmm.
It can sit out on your counter. Maybe not today when it's 100 degrees, but
yeah, exactly.
On the average days in California, we keep it under a butter dome.
Yeah, perfect.
And it's like the snacking cheese.
Yep, it's like a great table cheese.
My husband, he was like, should I get you some of the fruit paste? He likes it with the fruit paste.
That's really good.
Yes, like a little quince paste. And so he was setting up the display for us. And he's like, quince paste? I'm like, I don't know. But I think he was right on that one. I would snack on some quince paste and dry jack. So I promise you have the beer and dry jack tonight.
Yeah.
I will have the quince paste and dry jack tonight.
Perfect. I'm intrigued to hear what happens. My wife does a strange, she might hate me for bringing this up, a very strange pairing with dry jack and our smoked mozzarella that we do. She'll put almond butter on it, and she loves that. And I was like, with the dry jack, it makes sense with the almond butter and a little nuttiness, to it, and a little sweet. But the smoked mozzarella that we do, she loves a good almond butter on that, which is very strange.
I've tried that now. Like the almond butter totally makes sense though.
Yeah, absolutely. She's clever like that. She has a good palate.
That's a good one. I will try that. For
Give it a whirl. I'll use some of our smoked mozz to try it on too.
I see your smoked mozz at Sonoma Market at the Nugget Markets. I'll have to pick one up.
Oh yeah, there you go.
They have you prominently displayed, just so you know. At the Nugget Market, I always like to tell our cheesemakers that if I can see you at our local market, sometimes I text pictures when I find cheeses, stick the random way to stay in touch.
That's always fun. I love that.
Like here I am in some random town. If I see your cheese, I'll send you a picture. Like when we were in Tennessee last year, we came across not Jasper, Upland's cheese.
Mm-hmm.
How the heck did Upland's cheese get to this little tiny market in
right?
Tennessee? So I took a picture and texted it to Andy, the cheesemaker. He's like, I have no idea how it got there. Like, so those are the
That's so cool. So I love that.
When I find your cheese at a random marketplace, I will send you the picture. Yeah,
shoot me a text. I'd love that. Actually, my brother now lives in France. I think you may know that. He and his fiance works for a cheese company, and I'll find her cheeses around here every once in a while, and I'll snap pictures to her. It's the same thing. Like, oh, I found your cheese, Celine.
It's a great way for us cheese-making community to stay in touch. Yeah. We're all separated by geographic separation, but we don't have to be separated by communication, so it's a fun way to definitely stay in touch. But I want to thank you for joining us, and we're going to upload this video, and we'll put your website so people, if they choose to order cheeses from you, they can research your webpage, which, by the way, is very thorough on the history of your company.
Yep, we're working on that. Give them a little facelift, but yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, the knowledge on the webpage is great, so however you choose to reface it, that's great too, but you can go and read about the company. So you can visit Rumiano Cheese online, and I want to thank you, Raymond, for taking the time for being on the show. I'm sorry your brother couldn't join us, but it's 12 hours opposite. Yeah. So
next time. I'm sure he'd be happy to.
It'd be fun to have him on. We might have to record at some awkward hour, but we could do that.
Oh yeah, no, he's fine. It's only 9 hours, so it's only 9 p.m. He's a night owl anyhow.
Oh, good. Then I want to thank you for taking the time, and please give your dad my best.
I will.
And if you have any closing words to share with our guests and future listeners.
Well, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. I'm excited to see how Cheese Chats goes, and looking forward to the future and seeing more.
We'll be hosting more. And again, thank you for joining us. And I'll send you the link when we're uploaded, and you can check out some of the past Cheese Chats too.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Ray, and thank you so much for your time.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.